This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? How are we? You are very welcome along to Tuesday night's late night agenda. And let me make one thing clear to the little moany arseholes in the comments. I will do whatever the hell I want on my channel, and you can cry about it all you want. I will make whatever thumbnails I want, titles I want, and have whatever opinions I want. And if you don't like it, tough. You know where the door is. To the rest of you, lovely to see you. Hope you're well. And we have a lot to go through tonight. We're going to be talking about the bombshell of a statement from Alexander Isak that was just released. I'll read that out to you momentarily. We're going to talk about the latest in Liverpool's pursuit of Mark Gay, as it looks like it's stepping up over the next few days. We'll talk about the remainder of the window. We'll talk about the PFA Awards tonight, of course, as well as Ryan Gravenberch being included in the Team of the Year, along with the likes of Mohamed Salah, Alexis McAllister, and yeah, plenty to go through. So, as always, appreciate you guys being in with us, and don't be fooled by the arseholes in the comments who aren't here for the community, who aren't here to be part of anything with you. They're here to try to destabilise us, belittle me, and we don't have any time for them. So, off you pop. Right, I'm going to start off by getting straight into the statement, because that is the big bombshell of the evening. And I'm going to read it out to you in its entirety, posted by Alexander Isak. So, let's see what you think after you have a little read of this one. So, Alexander Isak took to Instagram to post this statement. I'm proud to be recognised by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League Team of the Season for 2024-25. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everybody at Newcastle who has supported me along the way. I'm not at this ceremony tonight. With everything going on, it didn't feel right to be there. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that the promises were made, and the club have known my position for a long time. To act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship cannot continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interest of everyone, not just myself. So, as you can imagine, that's going to cause a little bit of a stir, to say the least. And like I've always tried to say all the way through this narrative from the media and the Newcastle side, there's always been vilify, 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 vilify Isak, and he's kept his silence. But we've never heard his side of it. So tonight he is playing his cards very firmly and very clearly to say doesn't want that relationship to be restored. The narrative that's been put out there is one that only paints one side of the picture. And I'm glad. Honestly, look, I'm not going to change my stance on the fact that these are sad moments when these things have to happen at a football club, whether that's Brentford and Johan Visa, whether that's Sporting Lisbon and Gyökeres, whether it's Newcastle and Isak, whether it was us previously as well, with players like Raheem Sterling in the past, Luis Suarez. It's not great. It isn't a good thing in football, but it is important that we do give, you know, a full picture of what's happening here. And like Melissa already said all those weeks ago, Alexander Isak informed Newcastle of this situation quite a long time ago to give them the time to go into the market and sort things. Now, respectfully, it isn't Isak's problem that Newcastle can't get a transfer over the line. Now, you might say, hang on a minute, Craig, it is Isak's problem, but he has spoken about why he thinks this has been a misleading situation. So let's discuss it. Newcastle ain't getting a striker now, are they? Said Carl Downs. Yeah, this narrative. So there was something earlier on that kind of caught my eye, and it was from that Georgie Josh account. And again, this is me having a go at him, but it's just putting a bit of context into the situation. So there was a report there that said, where are we? 1 second. I just want to get my notes up so I can have all of these ready for you. Said something along the lines of, it was a report from one of the journalists that said Newcastle are actually being hamstrung in their attempts to sign a striker because of the Isak situation. I kind of understand that, but at the same time, it's not really, his problem, is it? Isak's transfer stance is actually making it harder for Newcastle to deal in the market. Quoting the newspaper MSI Douglas, other clubs perceive Newcastle as desperate. Well, kind of are. And Newcastle have made a mess of this transfer window. I know they've tried to steer a narrative in the last couple of days that, quietly Newcastle have gone about the window in a great way. Well, still can't get a striker in, can you? And Isak doesn't want to be there. And to be fair, we've all sat back and seen Isak absolutely rinsed in the media, rinsed by the Newcastle fans, rinsed in football. And I'm not trying to say I condone players down in tools or, wanting to move away. But at the same time, we never knew the full picture. We never knew what Isak had been told or promised. Same with Johan Visa. So we seen Johan Visa last night now black out all of his social media and basically pretend that he doesn't play for Brentford. It's just a dire state of where these things are in football. And it's not a benefit to anybody. It doesn't benefit Newcastle fans, doesn't benefit us as the buying club. It's just a mess. It doesn't look great. But ultimately, I'm going to put my cards on the table and say, as a Liverpool fan, I am unashamedly wanting the best interests of my football club to be served, and that is for Alexander Isak to get his move away. If that doesn't happen, well, we'll have a conversation around our own failings on that, leaving it this late. But let's wait and see what happens over the next few days. Isak has now finally broken his silence, and again, it's quite a fair statement, in my opinion. And still, I think he's been, and Newcastle fans may disagree, I think he's still being respectful. But again, let's wait and see. Luke said, I can hear them crying in the tune. Isak, baby, surely it'll happen now. Bransfield said, you are the man, highlight of the week. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Yeah, it's interesting to say the least. Now, obviously, I want to see what your opinion are in the comments as well, and we'll be dipping in and out. But do you want me to read the statement again? Because I understand people are coming in quickly and, people are trying to see what's happening. So if you want me to read it again, no probs, just let me know in the comments and I will happily do that for you. If Isak wants to leave, then put a transfer request in. So, Darren, just putting yourself, mate, or me, in Isak's shoes, would you forego a load of dough after? Now, remember, the reason I'm saying this, Darren, isn't to have a pop at you, fella. It's in his mind, rightly or wrongly, in his mind, he's thought, well, I didn't get a pay rise for the last year. The pay rise that I was promised by Amanda Staveley and others at Newcastle. Didn't get that over the past year. So in his mind, he's already gone through the season earning less money than he should have for an entire year. So the idea of him putting in a transfer request to push through a move away will hurt him again financially and will only benefit Newcastle. So I don't see the need for him to put through the transfer request. Now, I'm sure Newcastle would prefer if he did, because it would give them more money, less loyalty bonuses and stuff like that to be paid out. But if I'm him, having felt like I've been shafted financially for a year, I'm not putting in a transfer request to lose more money. I wouldn't. Simple as that. And I'm being honest with you, I wouldn't. So, the statement, no problem. A couple of people asked me to read it again. No problem. Let me read it out for you. So, this is the statement as posted by Alexander Isak tonight. I'm proud to be recognised by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League Team of the Season for 2024-25. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everybody at Newcastle United who supported me along the way. I'm not at the ceremony tonight. With everything going on, I didn't feel it right to be there. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made and the club has known my position for a long time. To act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship cannot continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interest of everybody, not just myself. So that's what Isak has had to say tonight himself. Do let me know what you think on that. While we're talking about that, let me just read out to you as well the Premier League Team of the Year, which has been announced tonight at the PFA Awards as well. Goalkeeper, Matt Sells. Defenders, Virgil van Dijk, Milos Kerkez, William Saliba and Gabriel. Midfield, Declan Rice, Alexis McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch. Up top, Mohamed Salah, Alexander Isak and Chris Wood of Nottingham Forest. Congratulations to everybody that was in the Team of the Year. 4 Liverpool players in there. Obviously, Virgil, Mo, Ryan Gravenberch and Alexis McAllister. So, you know, certainly good representation for the Reds there. And congratulations to all the lads included in it. Right, where are we? Alex said, I need to change my shorts after reading that statement. Certainly, again, doubling down, isn't it? And it's a come and get me plea, you know, if ever I've seen one for Liverpool. Joseph said, gimme a striker from Sweden. So, actually, while we're talking about songs, I want to get this out of the way early doors. So I see that there's a bit of a hoopla online about the Chiesa song. And everybody's entitled to their opinions on it. My opinion, for what it's worth, is it's a massive leap. It's a massive leap to try to jump from that song somehow relating to Heysel. Just my opinion. I'm not trying to say other opinions aren't valid, but for me, it's a massive leap to try to make that out. And remember, this fuss seemingly started from our side. Not because Juventus fans were upset about it or annoyed about it, to the best of my understanding. So I don't understand what the whole thing is about. So I think it's just something and nothing, personally. And I think we've got more stuff to be concerned about at the moment than Tony Evans trying to, you know, share his viewpoint on why he thinks it's offensive. Tony, of course, is entitled to his own opinion. I just think it's something and nothing, personally. Anfield Dan said, Craig, we love what you do, and these trolls are just little jealous Lou people. Never change. It's so clear, though. It's so transparent. Like, they come in and they say something like, oh, I love the community, but you're an asshole, or something like that. They don't. I can see through it a mile away, and they're just, I don't know what they are, but they're annoying is what they are, mate. And thank you as well, man. Appreciate you. Look, I know my community, and I know that they know me. So, you know, these little arseholes just need to go away and find a better hobby. Right, where are we at? Jordan said, hey Craigo, gimme a striker from Sweden. Don't know the rest of the words because I don't like ABBA. Yeah, I don't like ABBA, mate, so can't be thinking the rest of the words on that one. Right, so let's get straight into a poll on Isak. I feel like we've gone a few days without this one. Right, my friend. So, are we signing Alexander Isak this summer? Have your say. Let me know in the poll, and we'll see how it goes. Right, Tony. Evening, Craig. Did you get my comment about what True Geordie said about Jota? Very disrespectful, and his name shouldn't come up in this saga. So, I've been made aware of that. I've watched the clip, and we talked about it in our Discord group as well. So, look, here's what I would say on it. I understand what Brian, True Geordie, was trying to do, but I feel like he could have made the same point without bringing Diogo's name into it. Now, having watched the clip, because context is really important when we're discussing these subjects, I don't feel there was intent to belittle Jota or us in the statement and the way he said it, or in the conversation and the way he said it. I do feel he could have made the point without bringing Jota's name into it, and I prefer if he hadn't. But again, I just think, are we all going to be eternally offended by everything? You know, we look for things sometimes, and sometimes, let's be honest about this as well. And I'm guilty of this, by the way. Sometimes we judge these things on whether we like the person or not. So if I said that, I don't think there'd be as much of a pushback on it than if a non-Liverpool fan said it, as an example. And I'm guilty of that as well. I definitely do, at times, have a different threshold for statements, comments from people I like than people I don't like. Maybe it's because I know these people, and you know, I understand where they're coming from a little bit more. But I just don't think it's worth getting our knickers in a twist over. It was a poor comparison, but I don't see much more to it than that, personally. But again, you're all entitled to your own opinions. For me, it was something and nothing. That's the way I see it. But like I said, just my opinion. Right, ladies and gentlemen, Mohamed Salah has now been crowned officially the PFA Player of the Year. Congratulations to the great man. And let me just bring this up on screen so we can celebrate. Let me just get this nice and sized up for you. No, actually, we don't want that one, do we, Craig? Let's delete that one because that's the actual post. So we delete that. Delete that and we bring in the actual image. 1 second. There we go. There we go. Now we'll just use this image. We'll get this up on screen so we can all appreciate Mo's greatness for a little bit. 1 second. Let's just get Mo tucked away in the corner nicely like that. There we go. We'll leave Mo up there for a minute. But congratulations to the great man. PFA Player of the Year. Absolute no-brainer, as the chat are saying. But congratulations to Mo nonetheless. Absolutely phenomenal for the great man to have another bit of silverware. Tiernan said, opinion on the Gay transfer. I'm struggling, Tiernan, to really get a read on it, mate. So if you want my gut feeling on it, now I'm not inside this. I don't have the inside scoop on what's happening here. But the way I read the situation, Tiernan, as a fan right now, is it feels like Canada isn't going to extend and that Liverpool are moving now towards Mark A. Now, we ran a poll earlier on in our WhatsApp, and I'm going to have a look at the results of it now so far to see where we're at. So we ran a poll asking people, what happens with Ibrahima Konate? Now, if you're in the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp, please do vote on it. If you're not, well, hopefully we can get you to sign up to it soon. But we asked the question, what happens? And we gave 3 options. He signs a new deal at the club, he gets sold this summer, or he leaves for free when his contract's up at the end of the season. And so far, the most voted for answer is that he's sold this summer. In second place, it's signs a new contract. And in third place, leaves on a free. So most people at the moment feel like, well, not most people, that's unfair. The most voted for answer is that he's sold this summer. The way this situation is shaping up, I kind of understand where people's thoughts are on it because we still don't know definitively what is going to happen with Konate's future. But it feels like there's momentum gathering in the Mark A transfer. Dave O.C. Kopp posted something earlier on. Where was it? He said this. He said, exclusive, Liverpool are hoping to secure the signing of Mark A in as early as this week. Liverpool were initially hoping to pay around £30 million. A fee closer to £40 million is expected with add-ons. Just get it done. Let's be honest, just get it done. Because 1, he's a good player. 2, we still don't know what's going on with Konate, and at least this gives us some long-term planning, you know? So, for me, I hope we get Mark A this week, Tiernan, but I don't have the inside scoop on it, bro, so I'm just waiting to see like everybody else. Jack said, surely the price should be coming down a bit, Craig, after this stuff surrounding him and not playing for them anyway. It's an interesting point, Jack, that you've made, because, again, loads of people, even watching Henry Winter, who I have nothing but respect for as a journalist, he said something on TalkSport that absolutely left me shocked. Let me read it out to you. So he was speaking about the Alexander Isak situation on TalkSport, and he said, 2 things should happen here. First, he should put in a transfer request. I know he wouldn't do that, but why does he deserve a loyalty bonus or any financial recompense from Newcastle halfway through his contract? So let's just take that first bit there. Why does he deserve a payoff from Newcastle? Well, perhaps, Henry, like I've mentioned at the start of this, he feels that he's just done another year of his career on wages lower than that he was promised. So let's just say, for instance, Isak was about to get another 100 grand a week. Let's just throw that number out there that's 5 million quid a year. So that's 5 million quid that Alexander Isak feels he hasn't been paid. That's why he won't put in a transfer request. And that's why. But they know that. They know that. Henry knows that. He's a good journalist. Goes on to say, also, Liverpool should put in a proper offer. £110 million for a player like this, particularly in a transfer window like this, where we've seen fairly decent players move for 45 to 60 million. He's an elite level player, which is why Liverpool understandably want him. Put in a proper offer. Maybe they're waiting until next week after the Newcastle game, but it's staining the start of the season. Liverpool have had a fantastic transfer window, but I think they need to show a bit more respect to Newcastle and also respect to Isak because he's more than a £110 million player. So let's just start off here with a conversation around that offer not being respectful. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We are saying that an offer of £110 million, rising to maybe £120 million with add-ons, is a derisory offer. What would be potentially the biggest offer for a player in the history of the Premier League isn't a serious offer, writes Henry Winter, or says Henry Winter. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. How can you say that? It's not Liverpool's fault if other clubs are paying stupid money for players that aren't worth 45 to 60 million. Not Liverpool's problem. Liverpool paid £116 million for Florian Wirtz, a potential Ballon d'Or winner. So this narrative, this very one-sided narrative needs to stop. It's ridiculous. Let's go over the facts, Henry, because apparently facts don't fucking matter anymore, even with journalists. Newcastle reached out to Liverpool. So let's start with that. And they said, can we have a conversation around Alexander Isak because the situation's starting to snowball? And Liverpool said yes. The conversation was had and Liverpool put forward an offer. Now, rather than saying, sorry lads, we think he's worth more than that, that's a lowball offer, go again, they slammed the door in Liverpool's face and absolutely closed down conversations. So why should Liverpool come back to the table on Newcastle's terms? These journalists need to stop pandering with this bullshit. Because one, like I've said, only one side of this has been put out there. Two, keep the same fucking energy for Visa and Gyökeres and all the other players who've done it. Why is it this particular transfer? You know why. I know why. Because we drive clicks. We drive conversation. And everybody loves to pile on Liverpool. So I just can't wait until he is a Liverpool player and all of these clowns can just fuck right off and we don't have to deal with it. Because again, just boots going in on Liverpool over and over and over and over. And to call 110 to 120 million pound an unfair or disrespectful offer is bullshit. Simply put, it is bullshit. You know it and I know it. Nonsense. And they wonder why people are having a pop at journalists. They wonder why it's a dying profession. I wonder why. Between that and that Luke Edwards fella, the Telegraph with his nonsense. Shall we read out the latest nonsense from Mr. Luke I Speak Nonsense, Johan the Storyteller? Fuck me. So this is what he's had to say today. Absolutely ridiculous conversations yet again. Like, what people need to realise here is that everybody is in the clicks game. Everybody. Whether it's journalists, whether it's me, whether it's the club website, whoever it is, everybody wants clicks. And what drives clicks on social media? Anger. So what are they doing? Pushing the anger buttons over and over. And again, let's have a look at why people might want to click on those Luke Edwards ones. Is it behind a paywall? Yep. Have to sign up to the Telegraph, don't you? So is it possible, hypothetically, that this whole fucking stance is to drive traffic to the Telegraph website? To get people to sign up to read the angry bullshit that he's writing? Of course it is. But again, we're supposed to live in this mad world where we don't speak the truth. I will. If nobody else will, I will. I'll call out the bullshit. It's pathetic. All of it. Nonsense. So yeah, the Luke Edwards of this world and their stupid reporting can do one. Because it's all just fucking nonsense. I'm just reading through my notes here. Bear with me. Okay. Right, let's keep going. Craig, journalists are 3 days behind. Truth is the deal is done. Look, what gets me is they want to be treated like the serious people. A lot of these journalists. They want to be treated like they're above all of us. But they do the same shit. They pander to the same fucking thing. Again, it's all nonsense. Have some fucking integrity. You know, if you actually want to be a journalist and you actually want people to enjoy and read your work, stop putting out falsehoods that everybody can see through a mile away. Stop treating people like idiots. Right, let's keep going. Sorry, some comments I need to get back through. That one. David, lovely to see you, bro. Welcome in. And thank you. This one from Cyrus. How are we, sir? Said, told my mates months ago Isak would be joining 100%. Player power speaks volumes in cases like this, and he made his intentions clear early on. So, he certainly made his intentions clear. I think I agree with you on that one. I'm not at a point yet where I think it's 100% on. Like I've said, for me, it's always kind of triggered on whether Newcastle can get replacements in or not. But with that post from Isak tonight, that maybe ratchets this up a little bit. Probably an understatement there to say a little bit. And yeah, by the way, I don't have an agenda against journalists. Craig Hope, I think, has dealt with this situation, reported on it really well. Keith Downey reported on it really well. They deserve credit. But some of the stuff has just been very transparently, I'm being briefed by one side of this and I'm only going to give you one side of it. And that's not a journalist's job. If you want to do that, go work for the fucking football club and stop disguising your propaganda as journalism. It isn't fucking journalism. It's telling one side of the story, which is exactly what a journalist isn't supposed to do. You're supposed to give a balanced view on it. If you want to go work for Newcastle or for a football club, then go do that. But don't look down on the rest of us, pandering to the football clubs for access and views, and think we're going to take you seriously. Because I'm not, and I'm going to call them out at every opportunity, because they're fucking spoofers. Right. Alexander Isak make his move, and it was always clear since July he only wants Liverpool. He doesn't even want to discuss any other option with Newcastle and never considered Al Hilal despite reports. Again, of course he didn't consider Al Hilal. Why would a player in the prime of his career want to go over to the Saudi Pro League when, you know, he wants to win stuff in Europe, big prizes? And I'm really getting a bee in my bonnet now. So in the football world, there are journalists out there like Miguel Delaney, Henry Winter, who are damn good journalists. But then there are others who are very club affiliated, very one-sided in what they do, and ask yourself why. Why? Obviously, it's to do with access, and obviously, it's to do with wanting to curry favour. It does my head in, because they're not giving a balanced view. And sometimes it's in our favour, if it's one of our clubs, and the journalists are covering it in a positive sense. Great. But let's be honest, some of the football journalists these days are anything but nuanced or anything but unattached, let's say. And it needs to be spelled out. Because I'm sick of fan content being looked down the nose upon by a lot of these guys who think we're not serious people. We are. But we have, a lot of us, the platform to say what we want. Really say what we want. And that platform wasn't given to us. We earned it through respect, through trust, through common decency, and through treating people like adults. And not looking down your nose and talking down to football fans. It needs to stop because people are seeing through it. Hey Craig, hope you're well. We need to put pressure on them and chuck a bit at them. Isak's statement could not be a clearer indication of his choice. I agree. I'd love to see us push on now with a bid to test the waters again. I'm finding it really difficult, Ryan, as a fan, to get a read on it. I don't know exactly what the plan is, or full disclosure, I was coming into tonight's stream before this Isak stuff came, before the PFA stuff came, and I was starting to get tetchy. I was thinking, God, 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. If we don't bring in a forward, we've done this to ourselves. Because, we've sold Darwin, we've sold Diaz, we've sold Ben Doak. Obviously, we lost Diogo tragically, and we've not replaced them with enough. Now, if Isak comes in and Gay comes in, the whole window comes perfectly full circle, and I think we're all happy. But I'd be a liar if I said I'm not a little bit edgy. Over the last week, with a couple of big acquisitions still needed to be made. Popped in a bit late, said, Mohammed, what's the Isak news? He put out a statement, mate. He was named in the PFA Team of the Year. So I guess it was kind of a natural time for him to put out a statement. And the statement that he put out, if you haven't already seen it, reads, I'm proud to be recognised by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League Team of the Season for 24-25. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everybody at Newcastle United who supported me along the way. I'm not at the ceremony tonight. With everything going on, I didn't feel it right to be there. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made, and the club have known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now, and that's why change is the best interest of everybody, not just myself. Alexander Isak. So that's the statement that he put out. And also, again, let's not lose the fact that Mohamed Salah has just been confirmed as PFA Player of the Season, so massive congratulations to Mo on that one again. Florin said, Craig, we need a big free Isak banner at the game on Monday. It would be interesting to see something like that. All right. Yeah, look, that's going to be a tasty, is the word I'd use, game on Monday night, and certainly going to be a very hostile atmosphere, understandably. But it is what it is at this point. I'm intrigued. Really am intrigued to see how these last 2 weeks go, because I feel we'll get both the guys, but I couldn't say that with any degree of certainty. It's just a gut feeling. So what do you guys think? If I said to you right now, right, give me a number. If you're Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes, John W. Henry, Tom Werner, what would you be thinking is the go back and, let's revisit? What would you do? What would the number be? Sorry. What was this one? Okay. So Mark was just letting me know about a super chat that he accidentally deleted. I can't see it on my side yet. Where was it? So Mark said there was a super chat that was deleted that read, spoken like a true man. Thank you, LFC love. So 130, 130s, 120s, not 150. Yeah, I agree with that one, my man. 120, 10, 15 million add-ons, 120 plus 10. Yeah, I'm pretty much right where you guys are as well. 120 plus some achievable add-ons of about 10. Kind of, that's where I'd be at if I was in your position or in their position. Yeah, that's about right. 150 feels absolutely nonsensical to me. It just feels like a number somebody arbitrarily pulled out the backside. Right, let's keep going. Loads more to go through. Chad, how are we, sir? So Newcastle are going to keep having problems bringing in players if they keep lying about letting them move on to bigger and better opportunities. So I said this, Chad, a few weeks ago. I used Dortmund as an example. Borussia Dortmund know what they are. They know what their market is. They know what their business model is. And they know where they are as a club. So they know they bring in a Haaland, a Jude Bellingham, a Joe Bellingham. And these players will eventually move on. And yes, they will be well compensated for that. But like you've said, let's imagine for a second that you were Benjamin Sesko and you were looking at the situation with Isak at Newcastle, and you had an offer on the table for Manchester United and you had an offer from Newcastle. And you probably feel, I will have another move in my career and I will probably take another step forward at some point. Knowing the way Newcastle have dealt with the Isak situation, it wouldn't exactly fill you full of confidence that that pathway is going to be straightforward for you in the future. And it certainly wouldn't fill your agent full of confidence to bring players to that club, because Newcastle are a fabulous football club with fabulous fans. I've always said that. But they aren't an elite club. Not yet. They may get there. They've a lot of things going in their favour. But they aren't an elite club. They're a good club with ambitions. But they need to understand that. And some of the stuff around Isak has been absolute madness. Like, absolute madness. Like, everybody can have their say and say what they want, but there's no thought for the player side of it. And, like, look at the situation with Johan Visa right now. It's kind of pretty much similar. He feels he was promised by Brentford that he could move on for X amount if he stayed one more season after they lost Ivan Toney, and now he feels that those promises have been broken. Gyökeres, same thing, ended up at Arsenal. It's just a different energy when it's us involved in it, because everybody loves to pile on. Deutscher Copbite said, "Hi Craig, hope you're well. Just a question of whether you think Isak could trigger FIFA's Article 17. So, look, obviously I'm certainly no legal mind, mate, but my understanding of Article 17, from what I've read up on, is that there has to be valid reasons to trigger that. So one of the reasons that was mentioned, and if people don't know what we're talking about here is the article that would allow the player to buy themselves out of their contract. So there's very confusing conditions. So for instance, if Isak wasn't being paid because Newcastle were broke, something like that, then there might be a way that he could do that. But to do it now, in this situation, from my understanding, would open not just Isak, but Liverpool up to litigation for compensation for what Newcastle would lose. It doesn't seem like a runner to me. I know it was floated out there a while ago by people, but it never felt like a realistic possibility to me anyway. But like I said, I'm certainly no legal mind. David said, I think 120 with 15 million in add-ons for Isak. Let's go back to the poll. So 5,000 votes and 82% of you legends think we're getting Alexander Isak. I love that. Ken said, I get what you're saying, but it's a two-way thing. Players, whoever they are, maybe shouldn't sign contracts so long. Oh, look, I am not absolving Isak of any responsibility here, mate. Absolutely not. What I'm saying is, it needs to be a full, well-rounded conversation. Like, anybody who thinks maybe Isak could have handled this better, I get that. Of course I understand that point. You know, any rational human being would. But here comes the hypocrisy, right? I'm a Liverpool fan. I want what's best for us, which is us getting Isak. No doubt Newcastle fans right now are thinking the same thing about Visa. No doubt Arsenal fans, when they weren't trying to cancel the deal to try to get Isak. We won't forget that, Arsenal fans. They were the same. They wanted the best thing for their club, which is the player to come in. So it's part of the hypocrisy we have to all accept in football, that we are hypocrites ultimately. But, you know, this isn't the first time this has happened. It won't be the last time this has happened. And I guess the real matter here is the outcome and what happens at the end of the window. TH14 said, people aren't media literate to differentiate between opinion pieces and real news, because all these lies in sport and politics, all playing teams. So I get it a lot of the time, mate, about thumbnail titles or wording. There's a question mark in there that sometimes, or something like that, and people just want to ignore that and say it's a statement. So say you're saying that this is happening. No, we're taking a quote or a piece from an article and we're having a conversation about it. And the question mark is there because it's posed as a question. So I agree with you. Understanding what happens in these situations is important. And what do I always say? And I said it right back at the start of it. It's a battle for hearts and minds. That's what these things are. They're PR exercises. And it's a battle to get people on your side and control the narrative. See, Aaron Waddell said, I'm so tired of this saga. Newcastle won't sell. Let's just play somebody up top and get on with it. That's called being a quitter, dude. That's called being a quitter. Because I promise you, Aaron, I promise you, if we sign Isak and he bagged 15 goals by January, I guarantee you're going to be singing about it. I guarantee you're going to be at home celebrating it. But you didn't want to continue the fight. You wanted to just shrug your shoulders and give up and walk away. You know, it's your opinion. You're entitled to it. But it's not how I'm built. So for me, it'd be, nah, we finish what we started. Ryan said, look what Luke Edwards tweeted. I don't have Twitter, mate. Like I keep saying, I only see things when people send it on to me. What's this? So, Ian Doyle said, Isak looks like Isak has gone all in. We are watching the end game, folks. I kind of agree with Mr. Ian Doyle on that one. I don't agree with a lot of stuff with Ian, but I agree on that. Yeah, certainly going to start the conversation again, isn't it? The whole Isak saga. Can someone please check on Magpie Media? Look, I get it. I've always said I totally get why the Newcastle fans would feel so hurt by it. I felt the same way with Suarez. I felt the same way with Coutinho. It's not nice, but ultimately you understand football clubs are, you know, businesses, and players and heroes will come and go. The most important thing, I think, on all of this, if I was a fan of Newcastle, would be knowing he doesn't want to be there. Like, whatever else we think, we worship these guys, they're superheroes to us, but you also kind of believe that they're playing for the badge and the shirt, right? And everybody wants one answer. So if Isak wants to move now, some Newcastle fans are trying to make out like he never cared about Newcastle or he lied to everybody. That's not necessarily true. Two things can be true at once. I'm sure he absolutely enjoyed his time at Newcastle. Why wouldn't he? Great fans, great crowd, great stadium, great league, and it's done well for him. So to try to say that because he wants to move on now, he never cared, of course he cared. But it's time for the next phase in his career, and the most successful club in English football want to bring him in, have a space waiting for him. He believes he was told he could move. He believes he was due a pay rise. So, again, not one thing has to be right or wrong here. There's so much grey involved in the conversation. Chad said, I'm a little late. I'm so sorry if you went over this. Did you see the True Geordie compared the Isak situation to Jota? I did go through it, and he didn't really compare it. You know, I think it's important to have context in any of these conversations. And I've watched the clip, and whilst I feel it was a poor comparison, and he could have made his point without bringing Jota into it, I don't feel there was any intent there to belittle Diogo's passing. But, like I said, everybody has their own opinions. I know Brian a little bit. Like me, he can be a bit of a hothead sometimes, but I know he's a good heart, and I don't take any offence from what he said. I think it was a poor comparison, but nothing more. £111 million bid on Monday morning, said Rain. Imagine that'd be hilarious. 111 million, just to kick it on a little bit. Double L line, I've seen your comment, dude. Let me scroll back. I'm just trying to find it here for you, sir. Bear with me. Can't see it, mate. Unless let me try it the other way. I can't see your super chat, mate, so bear with me. Unless it didn't come through on one side, bro. Hang on. Cop Wolf, thank you, by the way, for gifting a membership. Nah, didn't come through, mate. So I didn't skip it. It just hasn't come through. Sorry. Yeah, so apologies, man. I can't see it. It hasn't come through. Right, where are we at? Done Chad's one. Done that one. Jack said, I get why he doesn't want to, but it comes down to it, and Isak really wants to be with us, then he should officially request a transfer. Why? Why? I get what you're going to say, to kick it along, but why would you kick yourself in the balls financially? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. I've got to be honest with you. I don't see why you should have to put through a transfer request because Newcastle are shit at going out and getting replacements. You know, I don't see why he should have to suffer more financially for that. Just my opinion on it, though. Ultimately, if he was willing to do it and it got the transfer done, cool. But I don't think the onus should be on him to take a financial hit because Newcastle can't sign a replacement. Just my take on it. So here's that Luke Edwards post. Newcastle United continue to insist this evening, despite Alexander Reese's accusations on Instagram, the player's not for sale. They're not going to be bullied or back down either. Jesus. I have to bite my tongue. I have to just bear with me a second. Because if I say what I want to say in response to that Luke Edwards post, I'm going to be cancelled and I'm going to lose my job. So bear with me. Alright, I think I'm ready now. So, Mr. Edwards, I don't know you, but you're coming across like a bit of a simp. And we get it. You're pandering one side of this. We understand it. But you use the word bullied very fucking loosely, let me add. So, do we not think, Mr. Edwards, you know, in your fucking infinite wisdom, that Isak might be feeling a tad bit bullied right now by the You're a Rat banners and burning of his shirt and Newcastle briefing the media? And I use the word journalist here very loosely, mate, because as I said, more like you're twerking for the club at this point. But I get it. You want your 5 minutes in the sun because this is it for you, isn't it, Luke? This is the big one. This is it. This is your name out there and, you know, you're doubling down on this. I get it. You want that ha 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 moment, but ultimately you look like a sap. You do. You come across like, I don't care what the reality of the situation is. I'm just going to double down and keep talking the same shit, which is your prerogative. But it's also my prerogative to say that I think you're talking absolute nonsense. And you might as well be sitting there reading fairy tales because it's equally as relevant. And the bullying accusation, again, bullying. Love throwing that around, don't you? Liverpool trying to bully Newcastle. Fuck you. There's no bullying. It's an offer. An offer. And if the player was lied to, and again, I'm saying if because unlike you, Mr. Edwards, I'm willing to look at various viewpoints here. If the player was lied to, why should he just roll over? Because you want the access, Luke? Is that why? Because you want the nuts tickled from Newcastle? I get it. Understand it, Luke. Don't care, but understand it. So, just enjoy your fucking moment in the sun, mate, because you're going to be irrelevant again in a couple of weeks' time when all this is over. But the worst part of it is, if he moves, you're going to look like a real clown. But you probably know that already, don't you? What's this one? Alexander Isak hints at the lack of a new contract 12 months ago as being key in his desire to leave Newcastle. Statement, a clear indication he doesn't plan to reintegrate. Liverpool are prepared to bid again if given encouragement. Understand £120 million British record ballpark remains Liverpool's valuation. Unlikely, should a new bid materialise, it will be close to £150 million, a number Liverpool have never directly quoted. And that's from Ben Jacobs. It doesn't matter, Ben. Luke said it's not happening, bro. So put the old typewriter down. Same with Ian Doyle and everybody else. We can go home, lads. Because Luke, I'm the fucking Don Edwards, has said that it's not happening because, you know, somebody whispered in his ear from Newcastle that it's not happening. And they won't be bullied. It's important that we have to know here. Newcastle won't be bullied. Nobody's trying to fucking bully them, but, you know, state of it. You can tell. Spot the club that aren't used to being in the fucking headlines. By the way, you know, want to be a big club? Well, learn how to deal and act like a big club, move like a big club, treat players like a big club. We must recognise our own hypocrisy. Would love Trent. I absolutely recognise my own hypocrisy. I've spoken about it a lot. But would have changed stupid money or refused. We and the club are all self-interested. Of course we are. No problem admitting that. See, that's the difference, though. A lot of this conversation hasn't seen an acceptance from others of the hypocrisy. So, you know, the ones that are, the Newcastle fans, just as an example, the ones that are vilifying us and the clowns like Edwards talking about Newcastle being bullied, which is absolute fucking nonsense. Which is it's a very loaded word to use, bullied. So, again, my anger is at the state of the one-sided coverage of all of it from certain people. Like I've said, the Keith Downeys, the what was the other gentleman's name? Sorry. Where's his name? Bear with me. Not him. I'm drawing a blank on the other journalist's name. If you want Isak, then why don't you bid 150 million then? Liverpool community nah. Of course we're saying nah, 'cause it's a fucking ridiculous price. Why would he bid 150? If you want Isak, bid 100 million. Or the 60 million. Or Visa. If you want Visa, bid the 60 million that Brentford want or don't. But you won't, will you? Why won't you do that? Because it's a fucking ridiculous number. So of course you're not going to pay it. Craig Hope, thank you. Yeah, Craig Hope's been brilliant at how he's covered this. Really fair, really balanced, really genuine. And yes, he had a moment where you could see he was frustrated with it, but he's human. So yeah, that's nonsense. Just bid 150 or go away. No, he's not worth 150 million. Are you going to just bid 60 for Johan Visa because that's the mad number Brentford have plucked out of thin air? Of course you're not. Why would you? He's not worth it. Exactly. So stop being a fucking hypocrite. Thank you so much for the mic info. No props. No problem. Adrian, thank you, mate. Really, really kind of you. Appreciate your support, sir. Where are we at? I'm loving the attention that Luke Edwards is getting on Twitter. So is he, because this is it for him. This is his 8 Mile moment, you know? Back to irrelevancy after this, so he's doubling down on it. Like I said, the whole thing has been very funny to sit back and observe, and I don't think he's going to be on many Liverpool fans' Christmas card lists after this, but we'll see. Can't wait for the Newcastle game. Many hugs to you, Craig. Thank you, Michael. It's gonna be tasty. Febrile is probably the word. Yeah, like I said this the other day, Michael, but we have 9-10 days between when we played against Bournemouth to when we take on Newcastle, and they've got to be prepared mentally for what's going to come and physically, because it's going to be a very difficult environment. And if you can get through that first 15-20 minutes, keep a level head, calm things down a bit, I think then maybe you come into the game. But that first 15-20, it's going to be tasty. They need the money because the 60 million for Visa is set in stone. Yep, exactly. Just pay it. You know what I mean? Take your own advice and just pay the 60 million. Sure, we're all just paying whatever anybody asks. Doesn't matter if it's based on any type of reality or not. Nevlin said, Trent Stinker, 15 times lost possessions. Oh well, that's a shame. Is Gay still on considering our defensive frailty or fatality? You said. I think you meant frailty. So on the Mark Gay situation, what do you guys think? Because I'm struggling with it. I keep coming back to the idea that all outcomes are possible. So will Canade sign the new deal? That part of it, at this moment, I'm not feeling very confident on. I don't know anything, but I don't feel as a fan confident. I keep coming back to, does it take this long? You know, we've known the situation's been here for months. Does it take this long to decide? So my gut feeling, and it is just that, is that he probably is going to run down his deal. Or that he wants a number that Liverpool don't feel comfortable with. Something around there. So if he doesn't sign, we have to sign Mark Gay. We have to. Now, do you do it now or do you do it next summer on a free? My argument would be we do it now because we then get a player playing for the World Cup who is joining a new team and will want to do well. And then you have Canade and it takes the pressure off us. Because I don't like going into a season with somebody who's in the last year of their contract and probably won't sign. I don't like it. It made me nervous last year with Trent and it made me nervous now. And I know people say these guys are professional, yada yada. I get it and I appreciate that side of it. But for me, I'd always just look to the future. And if Canade isn't going to be the future, let's resolve it now. That's the way I look at it. But if I woke up tomorrow morning and I seen that Ibrahim Canade had signed the new deal, I'd be equally as happy. I just want clarity on it because uncertainty is nobody's friend. Whether it's over one position, two positions going into the season, we need as much as possible. I also want to cover something that Mohamed Salah said today, which is that Arsenal are favourites in his eyes. And he talked about the continuity. Now, some people were getting a little bit annoyed by that. I loved it. Push that pressure right back over to them, Mo. Good man. All the onus onto Arsenal. Push the pressure over there. We're underdogs. Yep, we'll just, go ahead and see what we can do. But internally Mo wants to win. You know that because he's a winner. Just had 3 days away in Galway with two Geordies. So many. Got my two new tops after a delay. Over the moon with them both. Nice. Glad you got them, Chris, and glad you like them. Yeah, I love the new Adidas stuff, mate. Absolutely loving it. Right. Paul said, "Hey Craig, great show. Do you think Leone will feature much for us this season? Do you think he's ready?" It definitely isn't fair of me to say whether he's ready or not. I've not watched much of him at all, mate, to know. But, based off a lot of the reporting from, the journalists that cover Liverpool, it certainly feels like he's been thought of as a here and now player. Romano, when he mentioned about Leone joining, he said there was never any thoughts of him going out on loan or anything like that. So, if Arne feels he's ready, I'm cool. As long as we see him played. Like, I keep saying this, but I've no problem with the likes of Rio Engamoa. I've no problem with Leone. I've no problem with Neone. But I do want to make sure they're used. And there's something that's come up today that kind of made me a bit angry. So, as Liverpool fans, this summer, nobody thought what happened with Diogo was going to happen. So that is a loss that nobody expected. But we have then gone out and we have sold Luis Diaz and we've sold Darwin Núñez. And again, uniquely, I'm okay with that. We've also, all of a sudden now, realised, Chiesa has to stay. Well, that's great. But don't try to tell us as fans that Chiesa is going to cover the Diaz minutes because that simply isn't going to wash. We already own Federico Chiesa. He's already registered as a Liverpool player. So that isn't going to cut it for me. We need more bodies. And you can't lose Diogo, Diaz, Darwin, and replace them with one. Can't be done. Stupid. So that's why I'm concerned. We need Isak or somebody else of that quality if it's possible at this point. Because we've left ourselves short. Now look, as I've said, if this pans out and we get Isak and we get Mark Gay or Canate signs a new deal, this all looks great. And we talk about this window very differently. But right now, we have young Rio Engamoa, Mohamed Salah, Hugo Ekitike, Cody Gakpo, and a Chiesa that has had limited minutes in a year and a half. That's our forward line. Dressing it up any other way, I think, is just naive. We need to get another proven player right now before the window shuts. We've left ourselves short if we don't. And I want Chiesa to play, but he's not going to just magically like that and be back to be match fit and ready to go every week like Diaz was, because that's what we've lost. Double L line, how are we, sir? Brother, hope you and the family are well. Not too shabby, my man, not too shabby, thank you. I believe Gay is actually Virgil's replacement, not Canade's. I think we'll sell Virgil and Salah next season, a year before the contracts are up. Thoughts? So, I have no idea on the second part, by the way, about selling him in a year. From what I understand, I don't think Mohamed Salah and his representative will accept being sold, same way they wouldn't with 1 year to go this year. So, but on the Gay Virgil thing, longer term, I totally see where you're coming from. Like I mentioned this the other night. Fast forward 3 years. Do I see a world where Mark Gay is left side of Liverpool's centre back and Giovanni Leone is the right side? Absolutely. You've got that experienced head then and that younger centre back. So in 3 years' time, you'd have a 27, 28-year-old Mark Gay and a 22, 23-year-old Giovanni Leone. Absolutely. I can see that. That makes sense. And it's good succession planning, which is, something that we always want to do as a football club. So, I don't agree with the second part of what you've said, but the longer term thought process, absolutely agree with you. Mike said, I feckin' love you, Craig. Whoop whoop. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. I came in hot tonight. I definitely did. I definitely came in hot today. Zeno said, having Isak, Ekitike, Gakpo, Salah, Chiesa would be 5 at Rio also. Yeah, if Isak comes in, it's all gravy. Then it's a very different situation. You also have the ability to push Wirtz and whatever forward. So yeah, if Isak comes in, look, what I've said is a moot point. But right now, if the season ends or the window ends with us not getting in another world-class forward, I fear we won't be winning the league anyway. I don't think we've enough depth currently to justify the confidence to go out there and win the league, as an example. I'd struggle to believe we could do it. One injury up front and we're screwed again. Husker said, are we still in the market for Fofana, or is that contingent on Isak and or Chiesa? I really liked Fofana. I think he'd be great pickup and an addition to Isak. So, again, I'm going to be honest and say I don't know. I'd seen Dave O.C. Kopp say that Liverpool are still in the market for a 60/70 million pound forward even after Isak. But looking at it right now, if there was a winger that we wanted to bring in even after Isak, I don't see why we'd be delaying it right now, because nothing has happened for, let's say, since Giovanni Leone. So you'd have time to go in and bring in that winger now rather than leaving it, 3 deals maybe to be done the last week of the window. And on the Fofana thing, I truthfully don't know, mate. I feel it will be a rational signing, price-wise, age profile-wise, but I couldn't sit here with any level of certainty to tell you yes or no. Haven't got a clue. Aaron said, not giving up in the sense I don't want damn thing. I'll sing his name, but I feel Newcastle are going to make a song and dance and block the move. Right, but why not go to the bitter end and find out, Aaron, rather than just shrugging his shoulders and walking away? Because there's a couple of things we need to think about as well here. For future players who Liverpool want, who maybe are in a sticky situation, not a great sign if the club were to just go, and move on and leave that player a little bit stranded. Now, granted, there's only some things that the club can do in this situation, but I don't think giving up when we're frustrated is the answer. And I'm frustrated as well, for what it's worth, mate. After the way the window started, did I think we'd still be sitting here 12 days and a bit to go talking about a huge signing still needed up top and with the Canade situation still uncertain? I didn't, if I'm being honest. The way the window started, I thought we were gonna blitz through it and Arne was gonna have plenty of time to bed in the new players. And even now, best case scenario, if we signed Isak, when is he going to be fit to play 90? best guess after the September international break. So it's already starting to seep into the new campaign. But maybe, it's worth it in the end if you get the guy. If you don't get the guy, it certainly feels very different. But without knowing what's happening behind the scenes, and I don't, you would have to say, if we can all agree that Edwards, Hughes and the recruitment team are intelligent people, right? I think we can agree on that much. So if we can agree on that, you'd have to believe, continuing to sell players, the Darwins, the Ben Dokes, you would have to believe that they are quietly confident that they have something ready to finish off this window in that position. Centre back, I'm a little bit more relaxed on. I'd still like certainty over Canade or Gay, but we did bring in Leone, so I want to be fair about that as well. But this situation is a big, big, big one. Like, it is still a big question mark over the window because it ties it all together nicely. And again, just numbers wise, gives us the depth that we would need. Marv said we need a DM also. I totally understand and appreciate that, where you're coming from, Marv. All I've tried to say to that all summer has been, I've never known of a likelihood for us to go after a DM in this window. It's not been something I'd seen or heard spoken about. As fans, I totally can understand why we have the conversation. We had many of them last year saying, what happens if Ryan picks up an injury? We're in trouble. And it still stands true now. But all I've wanted is just one sentence answer from Arna about what is the plan there. Is it a Stefan? Is it a trainee only? Is Maka going to be the cover there? Is Jones going to be the cover there? It'd be nice just to know who it's going to be, because we've seen 2 games without Gravenberch, and one of them was Maka and one of them was Jones. And obviously Jones was because Maka wasn't fully fit at that point. So I get it. It's a very fair point, but I've personally just never expected it this summer. I'm not saying it's not needed, but it's certainly not going into the summer. I didn't think, we're going to get a DM. Aaron said, what do you think of the Isak Insta story? You want my honest opinion on it? Like, I would have gone further, but then again, I'm very much a hothead. But what I think he needed to get across, he got across, which is, let's break it down bit by bit. First one, niceties about being nominated for the Team of the Year and all that stuff. Straightforward. Then he thanks his teammates, the Newcastle fans, and everybody who supported him along the way. So acknowledging the love and respect of those at Newcastle. Then he speaks about why he's not at the ceremony and goes on to talk about broken promises, untruths, and most importantly for me, a one-sided version of events that's come out. So I think he's pretty much put his cards on the table. I agree with what Ian Doyle said. He said, looks like Isak has gone all in. We're reaching an end game. Romano, again, saying Isak Maid's move was always clear since July. He only wants Liverpool. He doesn't even want to discuss any other option. It's going to come down to Newcastle. They have the final word on this. There's nothing that we can do to push that along. It's up to Newcastle. Ultimately, he's their player. It's their football club. But I guess for me as a Liverpool fan, I wonder, at what point do Liverpool give up, or not give up? What point do we feel there is no chance? And what do you do in that scenario? Because I get people will say wait for him, which is admirable, but it doesn't help us now. And we do have a season unfolding in front of us. So we do need to figure out what the hell we're going to do. And even if it was wait to January, well, there's a couple of things in that. One, is any player that Newcastle are going to bring in going to want to move during a World Cup year to another club, a new city and a new league maybe? I don't know. What's this? Cut Offside have said Inter are trying to hijack Liverpool's move for Mark Gay and have communicated their desire to sign the defender on a free transfer next summer. Brilliant. So what I heard there is Inter are cheap and don't want to buy the player. Cool. I don't think at this point in his career, Mark Gay is going to want to move over to a league that's on the slide, with all due respect to Serie A. Right. Yeah, sorry, I'm going to keep going. So somebody said that Edwards put out something else. I haven't seen it yet, but whatever it is, I honestly don't give a shit at this point, because he's made it really clear what side of this he's on. So anything else he says at this point is just, I don't want to give him any more attention. Jamie said, well, Craig, I hope all is well. Isak is going to be a red. Newcastle are an embarrassment. Thoughts on what way this will go? Love your videos. Thank you, firstly, Jamie. I hope it ends up with us getting him, because that's the common sense move for everybody here. It gets rid of the situation for Newcastle. You know, I tried to ask myself, what's the best case scenario in this for Newcastle, right? The best case scenario is that Liverpool go away, Isak stays this summer, and they find some way to integrate him back into the team. But ultimately, knowing he doesn't want to be there, he probably not going to really give 100%. And he'd be going through the motions and want out anyway. So for me, I think they should just cut their losses, take a load of dough, and go out there and spend that dough on players. Because I wouldn't want somebody in the dressing room that doesn't want to be there and that had the potential to make the season toxic. So it's just my take on it. Can't see us with a vacant number 9 shirt, Craig. It would be frustrating, Matt. It would, dude. Yeah, it's too big of a number, isn't it, not to have somebody wearing it? So, let's ask this question, based off a comment somebody said in the chat. 1 second. So, do you think Isak will ever play for Newcastle again? You know, so think about that from whichever way you want, whether the window closes and he's still there. Do you think you see him pulling on the black and white jersey and running out at St. James's Park again as a Newcastle player? Elwin said, do you foresee a world where Instagram would fuel football? Did you foresee a world where Instagram would fuel football transfer drama? It's been a spicy window. Honestly, of all the platforms, Elwin, I would have thought Instagram was the least likely, but that's probably my own naivety. I'm not really a big user of Instagram. I don't have a public or a private Instagram account or anything like that, because quite simply, I hate looking at photos of me, and I don't understand why anybody else would want to. So I've never really been a user on there, but it's been big. You're right. There's been lots of interesting scenarios pitched from Instagram. Corbin, how are we, sir? Corbin 2003 said, wow, this is messy now. No one thinks player, I think he meant player power, or no one thinks of player well-being. Surely, as a human, every day this must weigh heavy on Isak getting slaughtered in the socials. Do you know what's wound me up, Corbin? The parts that said he's refused to train, even though he's there every fucking day training. That's another part of this coverage that's made me laugh. Isak's refusing to train. Isn't he there? Now, did he refuse to go up to the Celtic match when he wasn't played? Whose choice was it not to bring him on the pre-season tour? Why wasn't he allowed to go to the family barbecue and, you know, thing after the tour? So many times here, we all see one side of this. And yeah, it must be difficult for him, because it feels like probably him against the world in his mind right now. He's to drive into that Newcastle training centre every day after the other players have trained. And to still be doing all that and double down with this statement, he clearly feels very strongly on it. Footy Banter said, Craig, why react to claims of hypocrisy? Stop comparing Isak to Trent. So, firstly, if I'm wrong on this, I apologise, but I don't for 1 second think I've compared Isak to Trent ever. I may have answered a post on it, but I don't compare Isak to Trent. I read out a super chat from somebody earlier on that said it. So you're having a little rant here for some reason I don't know, but I don't think they're comparable situations whatsoever for the very reasons that you've read out, mate, or you've written. Trent's a Liverpool homegrown player. Isak's not. Isak will leave Newcastle for a record fee. Do you not think I know all that? Like, you're kind of talking down to me like I'm an idiot. And I don't get your point, mate. Sorry, I don't get your point at me. All I did earlier on was read out a super chat from somebody who made a comparison. I never made a comparison to Isak to Trent for the very reasons you've pointed out, because they'd be misplaced. So I think this one's on you, dude, not me. Colin said, would you take Tony on loan if Isak fell through? No, I wouldn't. He's been overplaying in the Saudi Pro League. I don't think he's ready to come back in and play for Liverpool. So no, on that one I'd say pass. Kelly, how are we? That evening, gorgeous young Craig. I've been promoted, Kelly. Just to let you know, my 2 pairs of Adidas boots have arrived. 1 for each corner of the Zimmer frame. Nice. 4. I mean, it must be expensive, Kelly, having to get the 4. Did you get the Predators, like, for the Zimmer frame? I won't be too far behind you, Kelly. Yeah, God, I couldn't even... It's been so long since I bought a pair of boots. I think the last pair of boots I had to buy was for a reunion my team had when I was like 30, so quite a while ago. But I hope you're well. Always lovely to see you in the chat as well. Alexander, how are we, sir? It's yourself. I'm good, mate. I'm good. Any hints on the number, Alex? You know, are you going to be number 9 if you come in? Could Isak pay off his contract? That's an option. I don't believe it is an option. I think you're talking about the Article 17 thing we discussed earlier on. And while I will freely tell you I'm no legal expert, mate, it does feel like there has to be extenuating circumstances for that to happen. And a team not selling you doesn't feel like it would be enough of a reason. Unless you can show some clear break of a contractual obligation or something like that, it would just be opening up him and Liverpool to legal recompense or legal issues. And like I said, I'm not qualified to talk about this, but my limited understanding of it, I don't think that is an option. So, this from Mouth of the Time. They said, the Saudis will be absolutely livid with his statement. He's essentially humiliating an entire nation with what he's come out with tonight. PIF want to push Saudi Arabia and Newcastle to the upper echelons of sporting greatness. Isak just shat on that. Fuck me. Oh, for the love of God. So, in one post, they've just basically said Newcastle is nothing but a vessel to promote Saudi Arabia. So the Newcastle fan in one fell swoop has belittled their own football club, establishment, history, traditions, everything, to try to make some really fucking ridiculous point about an entire nation being upset with Isak. I mean, talk about being a beta human being. For the love of God, grow a pair. Fuck me. The state of that. And also, why would you give a fuck what Saudi thinks of Isak or the situation, mate? They own your football club. They don't own your life. For the love of God, grow a pair. Fuck me. That's such a leap, like. It's honestly... Fuck me. Oh my God. They really are just not used to the big time, are they? God bless them. They really aren't. Fucking hell. I've heard it all now in this transfer window, honestly. Isak's causing diplomatic meltdowns now from the statement. The Saudis will be angry. Oh no. I thought I'm actually shocked. I'm actually shocked that somebody wrote that and actually thought, yeah, I've nailed this. Fucking nailed this one. I have boxed this one off. I think I needed the smile tonight anyway, and that's certainly done it. Oh. Carl said, time for a sneaky bid for Douglas Luiz. Not for me, you know. Maybe 3 years ago, perhaps, but not for me at the moment, Carl. I think, let's deal with let's sorry, I'm not laughing at you, Carl. I'm still laughing at that Geordie account. Let's get the business we need to get done in the positions where, we're talking about cover for Ryan here, which is fair enough, but we're definitely short in attack as well, and we've kind of done that to ourselves here by selling Darwin, Diaz, and Doak. Craig, would you take Voltmar if we didn't get Isak? No, and I'm going to give you an answer with as much context as I can. Would I take Voltmar in a different circumstance if we had enough centre forward? Yes, I probably would. As part of a project, I would. But what we've done now is left ourselves painted into a bit of a corner where we need a big player to come in now. One that's ready right now. And Voltmar isn't there just yet. And I don't think the project could take another young player at this moment. I think we need an established here and now. And that was also the plan going into the window, right? To bring in the players for the here and now. People keep talking to me about Luke Edwards Street. Haven't got a fucking clue what it is. I've seen the first one, but I haven't got a clue what the second one is. Sorry. So I would, in a different context, take Voltmar, but not now as a solution for Isak. Because I don't think he'd be ready to come in and hit the ground running. Chat had said they're out of their minds now. Isak's going to start World War III. I know, yeah. Talk about putting themselves... Like, do you honestly think, with respect to the Saudi royal family or whatever now, that they're sitting over there with all that's going on in the world and everything that's happening, and Alexander Isak is at the very forefront of their thoughts? People need to realise some of these accounts. In the world's order, football is a small, limited thing, and I would be baffled if there's even anything other than a shrug of the shoulders from Saudi Arabian royal family and the PIF, who deal with far bigger, greater, important things in the world and have a lot more going on than a player who they might lose and get 120 or 130 million pound for. Respectfully, I think they've bigger fish to be worrying about, bigger things to be spending their time focusing on. Brandon said, can we just skip to 2 weeks? My head's hurting. Same. It's definitely at the point now where you won't be sad to see the window shutting in a couple of weeks' time, to stop some of this madness. Oh, so here's the tweet. Okay, thank you. Steer OS Jr. said, the last desperate attempt from a player determined to force a move. Has it actually changed anything? Probably not. He was already refusing to play. See, I could twist that around to say this is the last desperate tweet of a journalist who's lost all credibility. But, like I said, he's having his moment in the sun now, Mr. Edwards. Let's see how it all pans out. And let's see if he keeps the same energy if Isak moves to Liverpool or, these things happen. So he's nailed his colours to the masts. Let's see how it pans out for him. Because let's just say everybody's got the receipts. And James, yeah, I just read it out there now. Stargirl said, my dad just said he thinks you need a glass of whiskey after hearing some of those comments. I'm not a whiskey drinker, but my head is hurting a little bit, Starker, with some of the nonsense that's happening tonight. Like, what this has done, in all honesty, to me, this whole saga is show me that Newcastle aren't ready for the big time. As a club, as a fan base, they're just not. Because this doesn't happen this way at big clubs. They know how to deal with this. They've got serious people who understand what's happening. And Eddie Howe's done a remarkable job. But it's been very clear from the outset that Newcastle have left him with a lot to do this summer and not enough support around him. And the human touch of Amanda Staveley, as was spoken about previously, feels like it's missing at the moment from Newcastle. And it really has been what I would say embarrassing in this window, but it is what it is. What do you think the maximum Liverpool will go to is, asked Paul. So the perceived wisdom, mate, seems to be 120 with 10 in add-ons, kind of seems to be where Liverpool's comfortable. Like, something stood out to me the other day, Paul, and I can't remember who wrote this, but they said that Liverpool feel the offer they put in for Isak isn't a million miles away from the number that they'd get him for. So I think about 130 probably is the number. Did you see Gay ignore Glasner? I did. So one of the explanations that I'd seen put out to that was that Mark Gay had to have a urine drug test, so we had to go in and give a sample, and he wanted to do that straight away and didn't want a distraction, just wanted to get it out of the way. Absolutely possible. I don't know Mark Gay and Oliver Glasner's relationship, so I don't know if there's anything more to it or less to it than that, but certainly the optics of it didn't look great. Sorry, I'm trying to go back through comments. You said read my last comment, and every time I read your last comment, it's asking me to read your last comment. Still trying to find it, mate. Bear with me. Yeah, can't see it, dude. Yeah, sorry, man. I can't find the original comment. The thing that you said, will come right in a few weeks. So sorry, man. I tried. Itachi, how are we, sir? Said, what a statement from Isak. It must feel like a relief for him to write this. Do we expect a bid before the game against Newcastle, 125 to 130 million, will make the deal? Free our boy Isak. I've been very curious about the timing. Like, a lot of people, Connor would probably fit into this category. A lot of people feel like nothing will happen until that game is over. Now, for me, I don't understand the difference, because let's say we did start the process to buy Isak and it was agreed or not agreed. I don't think that's going to change anything from the Newcastle fan perspective and the reaction and the atmosphere and the vitriol they're going to feel towards us and towards Isak. I don't think a bid now or after the Newcastle game changes any of that, because he's not going to be on the bench for either team. So I never understood that narrative. I never understood the narrative, of waiting until after that game, because I don't see that it makes a difference. They're still going to be baying for blood. And I mean that in a complimentary sense to the Newcastle fans. It's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a bear pit atmosphere, and it's going to be tasty. Nothing's going to change whether we offer it now or we offer it next Tuesday. They're still going to have the same energy. No chance Newcastle don't send now. It would jeopardise the whole potential transfers. Oh, Scouts will. Sorry, mate. You didn't get the memo, did you not? Did you not get the memo, mate? The whole of the country over there in Saudi Arabia now, mate. Livid. Fucking livid. Mouth of the Tyne has just told us The Saudis will be absolutely livid with this statement. He's essentially humiliating an entire nation, don't you know, Will? I mean, talk about making leaps, dude. But I think it certainly will underlined his intent that he doesn't want this relationship repaired, right? That's what I took from the statement tonight. And also, like you've said, he's had a chance to say something himself, and it's about time, because it's been a very one-sided narrative all the way. Footy banter, how are we, sir? So, Craig, I meant, can you help change the narrative of people comparing Trent to Isak? Too many pundits out there doing it, doing my head in. I agree. It's just, like I mentioned when I first agreed with you. The comparisons aren't apples and apples, are they? You know, the way I've tried to explain the Trent situation to people would be: imagine Saka in 3 years' time decided he was off to Barcelona, and he ran down his contract at Arsenal and he left for free. Am I supposed to believe that those Arsenal fans should stand there and applaud him and not feel any level of frustration that they didn't get a big fee for a player that they nurtured through their academy and was one of their own? Of course I wouldn't expect that of an Arsenal fan. You'd be a lunatic to expect that of an Arsenal fan, because of course they're going to feel shafted, and rightly so. So yeah, that narrative around the Trent situation was mental. You know, you can't tell anybody how to feel. If somebody feels okay with it, cool. If somebody else feels annoyed with it, great. But everybody in the media seemingly keeps different energy, or excuse me, not everyone, that's unfair. A lot of the media seems to keep a different energy for Liverpool. And, you know, we are in the opinions business. Everybody has one. But you're right, the comparisons there are not apples and apples. It's very different. Isak isn't Newcastle born and bred, like you've said. Was never going to stay there for the rest of his career. It was always going to be a pathway. Maybe they thought eventually they'd sell him to a Real Madrid, a Barcelona, or somebody like that. But, you know, it is what it is. And if people want to compare it with Trent, I agree with you. It's a stupid comparison. Brandon said, I feel going to Newcastle early at the start of the season will benefit us a lot with no striker. Newcastle taking the sting out of them. Love you, vids. Thank you, mate. It's a tough one, yeah. I guess if you get a result, you probably say, yeah, it's good to get it out of the way early. If you don't get a result, you're probably going, oh, this is frustrating and worrying. For me, the first 15, 20 minutes are going to be really, really important in that game, because they're going to be 100 miles an hour. I think the referee is going to have to be on it. I don't want to hear any of this shit about letting stuff go. It's early in the game. Didn't care about that when they were booking Milos Kerkez early or anybody else. So I hope it's a strong refereeing performance. I hope nobody gets injured, because I'd be a liar if I told you I'm not concerned going into the game in that regard. And it kind of lent a little bit into my thought process about why I was saying about Wirtz and Robertson and stuff. But if we get a result, it will come out of it. And I tell you, I'll come out of it as a fan feeling almost invincible at that point. It's going to tell us a lot about the mentality of our own team. Not that mentality should be questioned, because these guys always show when the chips are down, they're there to be counted, like they did when it went to 2-2 against Bournemouth. You know, they went up and got the winners. So it's going to be tough. You know, do I think we're going to leave there with 3 points? Honestly, no. I think we leave there with a draw. I want 3 points, but I can see it ending in a draw. I just hope there's no real flashpoint in the game that divides football again, because more hostilities between Liverpool and Newcastle fans isn't going to help the situation. Chris Shaw said, Arsenal fans out there said Isak's behaviour is unacceptable, yet they're okay with the new boy sacking off Sporting. Let's go a little bit further, Chris. They were also okay, a large chunk of them, with telling their own board to cancel the Gyökeres signing, that they want Isak. Don't forget that as well, mate. You know, there was plenty of them saying that. And look, we are entitled to be hypocrites as football fans. It's part of the joy and the pleasure of what we do. But if you don't acknowledge or notice your own hypocrisies, that's worrying. So, look, we're all self-serving and we all want the best for our own clubs, but, you need to have awareness, self-awareness as well. Mr. Real Johnny Sins said, Craig, why are Newcastle fans singing or arguing, well, why hasn't he put in a transfer request in yet? Well, I think the answer to that is respectfully mixed. Some of them don't understand what a transfer request actually is. And I, don't say that to belittle them. I think in any fan base, that's a fair thing to say. Others maybe just feel like it's another way to underline that he doesn't want to be there. And again, they just want to vilify him more at this point, mate. And like I've said, I wouldn't put in a transfer request in Isak's position. And the reason I wouldn't put in a transfer request is I've already felt like I'm out of pocket. So he feels like he was promised a pay rise last season that he didn't get. If that pay rise was about 100 grand, that's 5 million quid a year. So in his mind, he feels like he's 5 million quid down from a season he's played that he didn't get the pay rise that he was promised. So why would he then think, I know what I'll do. I'll put in a transfer request that will cost me even more money to help what? Newcastle? So, and what somebody else has to think of here is, if Isak puts in a transfer request, what will that do to the good people over in Saudi? They're already livid. What would happen, according to Mouth of the Tyne, like, if he put in a transfer request as well? Can the world take that? Do we have the best negotiators on standby? Is everybody ready? Has Trump got the White House ready? Are the planes gassed up and ready to go? Because a transfer request on top of this? I'm scared for my children's futures. Anfield, thank you, mate. Appreciate you. Why doesn't Liverpool offer to pay him the transfer request fee? Respectfully, why should they? Why should they? And I'm not saying they won't, by the way. We may never know. That may happen. It may happen behind the scenes. There might be a case of, right, you put in a transfer request, mate, we'll bump up your wages by 10 grand a week. I don't know. But the onus shouldn't be on us. Darren Cooper said, what I don't understand, a lot of people saying he's been unhappy for a while now, always wanted to leave in the summer window. But if that's the case, why get involved with all the coming up season media? Because he's contracted to. Really? And look, I haven't followed Newcastle's new season media, so I really don't know how involved Isak was or wasn't in it, so it'd be unfair of me to really comment further on that. Simon said, Craig, you need to release a statement saying that was sarcasm. Maybe, but I always underestimate that people don't really... I assume everybody gets when I'm being sarcastic. Like, I try to make it as obvious as I can, but it seems like some people do have a sarcasm bypass. Scouse Will said maybe the Saudis would invite him to the consulate and he won't be seen again. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful to Saudi Arabia in any way, because, like I said, every country has skeletons in their closet, and I don't know enough. I'm not well informed enough on the world's situation to belittle another country, and I would never belittle another country. So, my sarcasm is only based... The only reason I'm even speaking about Saudi Arabia is because of that ridiculous Mouth of the Tyne tweet, which is just all kinds of crazy. Other than that, it's not my place to speak about other people's countries or anything like that, mate. Politics, religion, I stay clear of, but I just think that's a mad leap your man made to fucking say that Saudi Arabia at this point in their development as a nation have a lot of other bigger fish to fry than a little football club. Football is the be all and end all to us, but to the big world decision makers, it's bigger fish to fry, and I think they've got more pressing concerns. Christian said, Saudi in shock, oil gone up $1 a barrel. I can't take petrol prices getting much dearer, dude. It's already piss take as it is over here. I don't know what is in other people's countries, but God almighty, it's ridiculous over here. Mine was sarcasm too, mate. Oh, I gotta just cover myself, Will, though, you know, because it is a very divisive statement. The whole, you know, Jamal Khashoggi thing. I knew where you were going with it, but it's you know, like I said, it's not a situation I want to be dragging myself into. Alex said, I'm sorry if this sounds stupid, but can Isak terminate his contract and come to us on a free? No, it doesn't. So I understand. Look, sometimes these things are just a misreading or misunderstanding of I think it's Article 17. From my understanding, there's only a limited set of circumstances that would allow someone to actually go and buy themselves out of their contract like that. And I don't think it's as simple as, I don't want to be here anymore. Like in any other walk of life, nobody can force somebody to do something. So Isak could say, I'm not playing for Newcastle ever again. That's the end of it. But would Liverpool be allowed to register him as a player? Very doubtful, in my opinion. Would Liverpool then be opened up to litigation? Most likely, as would he for compensation for losses of earnings. So, you know, always best to go through the proper channels to do these things and try and do it in a way that at least limits the hurt and frustration to everybody. Where were we at? Alf said Luke Edwards is borderline slandering Liverpool at this point. This narrative of bullying, that Newcastle won't be bullied. No one's trying to bully anyone. One of your players is unhappy. How about looking internally and maybe ask, what's Isak feeling in all of this as one person? Yeah, that Luke Edwards lad just coming across as an absolute clown. It really is, like, just so stupid. Newcastle won't be bullied. We get it. We get it, mate. You're twerking for the club. We all get it. We see through it. It's all fine. Hopefully you'll get your balls tickled and a little pat on the head. Right, so we asked, do you think Isak will ever play for Newcastle again? And 86% of 2,900 people that voted said no, they don't think Isak will play for Newcastle again. Appreciate you. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go record the late night news update video because I think it's fair to say we have a lot to go through and cover. I'll be going back through the Alexander Isak statement. We'll be talking about what the media has been saying on it. But before we go, can we all just take a moment once again to congratulate the great man, Mohamed Salah, on being crowned the PFA Player of the Year. A very, very worthy winner. There's always ever going to be one winner. And again, congratulations to to Virgil van Dijk, to Alexis McAllister, to Ryan Gravenberch, and to Mohamed Salah for being included in the Team of the Year, along with, of course, Alexander Isak. But we can't let tonight go and escape without speaking about Mo and saying congratulations to Mo for a very, very well-deserved award. Ladies and gents, I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. If you can, do check out the podcast. It went up earlier today. Myself, Connor and Chris spoke about the Isak situation. We spoke about the game against Bournemouth. We spoke about tactics moving forward. And we spoke about lots of other bits and pieces. You can find the podcast on Spotify, or you can find it here on YouTube. It's a video pod and it's available for everybody. Appreciate you all. Thank you for your time tonight. Thank you to our sponsor, Surfshark.